My microphone on. Okay. So good afternoon. Welcome to the Health and Government Operations Committee. I'm your chairman, Jocelyn Peña-Melnick. To my left is my vice chair, Delegate Bonnie Collison. To my right is the lawyer that is responsible for these bills. The lawyer is Erin Hopwood, and I want to thank the committee and staff for working so hard. This is voting list number 13, and for the public that is listening, a lot of these bills, with the exception of some, we have already seen. We have had the hearing. The bills have been assigned to subcommittee. We do a lot of subcommittee work in this committee where everyone comes and is welcome, and we do a lot of discussion. Then we work on the bills. We compromise, or they pass, or they do not. Then they come to the whole committee and we discuss them again, and then they go to the floor. A lot of these bills are cross files of bill that we have already done that, so we have seen it, and you'll see that we go by really fast. Don't become alarmed, is that we know them already and have voted on them already on the floor. The ones that are not exactly in the same posture, we will discuss them carefully and have a healthy discussion. In this committee, we welcome everyone's point of view. So we're gonna get started with Senate Bill 220, Public Health Services and Protection Revisions. It is favorable with amendment. It is Arendt and Bagnall. I will come back to the others, okay? Let's go with 220, Erin.
So there is an amendment, and sorry, you don't have it in front of you, but it's basically technical. It updates the name of the Governor's Office of Crime Prevention and Policy within the bill.
And that amendment is conforming, right? And Erin knows what she's doing. The amendment has been moved and second. Any questions or concerns about an amendment that is just conforming? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposition to that amendment? The bill has been moved and second with an amendment. Are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposition? Seeing none, the bill passes. Let's move on to Senate Bill 267. It is Motor Vehicle Administration and Local Health Departments Death Certificate Issuance of Copies. Erin.
The Senate bill included local health departments, and the Senate will amend the House bill to also include local health departments. So they will be conforming, so it doesn't need amendment.
So the bill, the amendments have been moved and the bill has been moved and second. Any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposition? Seeing none, the bill passes. Senate Bill 600. It is Maryland Medical Assistance Program, Dental Services Coverage and Rate Study. Erin.
It's identical.
The bill has been moved. It's in an identical bill as the House. Are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Seeing none, the bill passes. Let's move on to Senate Bill 694, Medical Department of Health Commissions and Maryland Insurance Administration Study. Erin.
It's identical.
The bill is identical as the House that we already saw. Is there any questions or concerns on the bill? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposition? Seeing none, the bill passes. Senate Bill 751, Public Health Opioid Restitution Advisory Council and Fund Revisions. Erin. The bill is identical to the House. Are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposition? Seeing none, the bill passes. Senate Bill 938, Maryland Department of Health Public Education Campaign on Prostate, Lung, and Breast Cancer Prevention. Erin. The bill is identical. Any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Seeing none, the bill passes. Senate Bill 974, Behavioral Health Crisis Response Services 988 Trust Fund Fee. Erin.
Identical.
The bill is identical to the House, which we already voted. Any questions or concerns? Delegate Morgan.
The bill 974, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for the work to committee, but this is a very desirable bill, but I have concerns over the fiscal note. So I'll be voting no. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Delegate. I appreciate your comments, and they're always welcome. Any other concerns or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Delegate Shalega, Delegate Chisholm, Delegate Morgan, Delegate Kipke. Thank you so much. Next, we're gonna go on to Senate Bill 1009, Task Force on Responsible Use of Natural Psychedelic Substance. Aaron.
Identical.
The bill is identical to a bill we already voted on. Are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Seeing none, the bill passes. Senate Bill 1059, it's Maternal Health Assessments, Referrals and Reporting, Maryland Maternal Health Act of 2024. It is Aaron.
Identical.
The bill is identical. And again, thank you, Delegate White Holland, for your amazing work. Any questions or concerns about this bill that we already voted on? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Seeing none, the bill passes. And our last bill of the day is Senate Bill 119. It is Legally Protected Healthcare, Gender Affirming Treatment. It is Aaron, and the subcommittee chair is Bagnell. It went to the Public Health Subcommittee. Oh, no, it did not. That's right. The original one. Go ahead, Aaron. The original one did.
So this bill expands the definition of legally protected healthcare to include all gender affirming treatment that is lawful in the state. As a result, gender affirming treatment is subject to the specified protections and prohibitions under current law that were established under chapters 246 and 247 of 2023, which was the Reproductive Health Protection Act. That act established additional protections for information related to legally protected healthcare when that information is sought by another state. The act also prohibits a health occupations board from taking specified disciplinary actions related to the provision of legally protected healthcare and specified state entities, agents, and employees from participating in any interstate investigation seeking to impose specified liabilities or sanctions against a person for activity related to legally protected healthcare.
Delegate Bagnell.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're
So
welcome.
this bill did not go to subcommittee, but it is a continuation of two pieces of legislation we worked on last year. One was House Bill 808, which was the Reproductive Health Protections Act. This protected legally, they established legally protected healthcare in Maryland so that other states couldn't reach into the state of Maryland and impact healthcare that was already legal in the state. It also protected our providers, and it also protected the medical records of those seeking care. This bill simply adds gender affirming treatment to the list of legally protected healthcare, similar to what we did with abortion care in the previous session.
And for the record, can you tell us why the bill is needed?
The bill is needed because there are multiple states that are banning gender affirming care or limiting of gender affirming care. They in each state is sort of addressing this in a different way. Some are criminalizing the care itself. Some are criminalizing the providers. Some are criminalizing certain aspects of gender affirming treatment. So there's no consistency or continuity in terms of how various states are addressing medically necessary gender affirming care. Maryland, we as a body voted to make gender affirming care. It was already legal, but we also expanded some of the protections, the treatments for Medicaid under the bill last year. And we want to make sure that our providers are protected, that patients are protected, and that we are not subject to the wills and laws of other states for what is already legally protected care in Maryland.
Thank you. I'm going to open it up for questions now from the members. Any questions or concerns? Delegate Shalega, followed by Delegate Morgan.
So this is going to continue to allow radical surgeries for minors.
Delegate Bagnell, will you please address the question?
Thank you for the question. So this bill is silent on medically necessary gender affirming care. It does not change the standard of care. In terms of what is legal under gender affirming treatment, which is medically necessary. This bill does not change that. It simply protects access to gender affirming treatment.
I would just encourage all of you to look at what is quote medically necessary. And, I'll just talk briefly about the process for robot assisted vaginoplasty. According to the handbook published by OHSU, surgeons first cut off the head of the penis and remove the testicles. They then turn the penile scrotal skin inside out together with abdomen cavity tissue, fashion it into a crude artificial vagina. The robotic arms are put through small incisions in your belly button and the side of your belly. They are used to create a space for your vaginal canal between your bladder and your rectum. This procedure is plagued with complications. The OHSU warns of wound separation, tissue necrosis, graft failure, urine spraying, hematoma, blood clots, vaginal stenosis, rectal injury, fistula, and fecal incidents. Patients must stay in the hospital for a minimum of 5 days. And then they have to, for the rest of their life, take medication and do something to keep that cavity open. These are the kind of gruesome surgeries that people will come here to get for minors. And I just think it's wrong. And I think we'll have a robust discussion about this on the floor. Thank you.
And Delegate Shalega, I welcome your thoughts here, right? I mean, this is, as I always say, it's a safe space, and I want you to have the discussion here so that we can have an opportunity to talk about it. And I thank you very much for bringing it up. Delegate Bagnall, do you want to reply to anything?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would just remind the body that this bill does not change the standard of care. It does not change gender affirming care. It does not gender affirming treatment. It does not change the various stakeholders who supported the bill last year, which included the Board of Physicians, the Maryland Commission on Women, the AFL-CIO, the Maryland Coalition Against Sexual Assault, MedChi, the National Association of Pediatric Nurse Practitioners, Johns Hopkins University of Medicine. So I just want to remind the body that this bill is not relitigating gender affirming care. It's simply protecting our patients and our providers in the state of Maryland for legally protected healthcare.
Delegate Morgan,
Thank you, Madam Chair.
you're welcome.
First, I mean, one question that I think that's probably going to come up on the floor, and I wanted to ask it here, was recently, I know it's portrayed a lot that other backwoods areas and other parts of the country are banning this and going after people. But I do want to inform the committee, in case they don't know, that HHS in the UK, certainly not a right-leaning place as the United Kingdom, just recently banned this as a few weeks ago. They banned puberty blockers for all minors, and they've really have reversed their decisions earlier of some of these Frankenstein type surgeries that my colleague from Baltimore County just read. This law would guarantee that children would be having this type of, I guess it's not, well, it's listed as treatments, but these types of surgeries would be available even when their local jurisdictions might offer other treatments, and there might be some other complicated situations with as far as parental agreements, who has custody with the child. For all those, I would think that the committee might want to slow down on this type of bill.
And thank you, Delegate Morgan, again, for bringing this up. I feel really blessed that we can have these discussions the way we do. Trust me on it. Delegate Vice Chair Collison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I think it's just really important to keep reiterating that this bill does not address the ability of people in consultation with their physician And if they are under the age of 18 in consultation or with the consent of their parent to have any gender affirming care, that is not touched under this bill. Under this bill, it is simply about the privacy of medical information, including that care. That being said, I just need to remind folks, it is extremely rare, and only in cases where there is fear for the mental health of the child would there be any kind of physical transforming surgery on a minor. It's extremely rare. So that's number one. Number two, with respect to the UK, they did not ban these treatments. They only set up new guardrails around them, making sure that they had the kinds of protections that we do here, and that all of the different, consultations and physician care is being done before any of these treatments are made available. So they are not banning them. They are just making them as safe as they can. So, I will just say again, that has nothing to do with this bill. This bill is about the privacy of medical information.
Delegate Morgan, do you have a follow-up?
Well, the UK did ban them. They banned puberty blockers for children. And I think we've had this debate before, that when you put children on medication that was designed for sexual castration of sex offenders, that does have permanent consequences for those children. And this whole thing that deals with the nonsense of parental involvement, being able to sign off and consent to this. We don't allow children to consent to any type of abuse. There's a whole slew of things that we don't allow parents to consent to their children. In some areas of the state, you can't get a tattoo, even with parental consent. So I would, these surgeries that we are talking about are extremely dangerous. There's been a whole movement of people that have come out and really regretted this. And look, I think that's important to note, because for years in this committee that we were told that no one ever has regrets about this. No one ever has reverses this decision. And that's just simply not true. There's been tons of people. So this is one more bill that would grant and kind of throw children in a haphazard way. And I think we should tread very, very lightly on going forward with this, because as the decisions in the UK shows, that this is starting to come around, and people are starting to really realize that this is more of a mental condition and shouldn't be treated with physical surgery.
Thank you, Delegate Morgan, for your point. Delegate Hill, and then Delegate Shalega and Alston. That's the way I saw it.
Okay.
Delegate Hill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just, since there was a description given of surgical technique, I would just like to point out, as Delegate Bagnall has pointed out, there's nothing in this bill that changes the standard of care or the options available, or changes the fact that informed consent is a necessary part of all of the medical relationship discussions that are required in the state in order for patients to have the information, including risk, potential complications, alternative options, including the option of doing nothing. So that's just informed consent and has nothing to do with this bill. So I think it's important to recognize that in certain situations, as the delegate described, using robotic surgery is an advancement, so that there are fewer incisions, smaller incisions, fewer complications. And I think it's actually pretty terrific that the option of doing some of these procedures can be given to patients without them having to carry on the same risk of complications that they would have even 5 or 10 years ago. But I think the most important point that I want to make is that I don't think this committee, certainly not this legislative body, has enough information on any individual patient and their health conditions and any underlying or related emotional or psychological or world conditions, what their family life is like, what their financial situation is like, the other procedures they've had or haven't had, the other providers that they're dealing with, for us to insinuate ourselves in the middle of what is actually a very personal decision. And it would be, I think, the height of, I don't know whether I want to say hypocrisy or arrogance for us as a body to decide that it is our job to tell any patient, whether it's a gallbladder surgery, a facelift, a breast lift, a vaginoplasty, a phalloplasty, a hernia operation, that it is our place to tell them as they sit and consider all of their options with their providers what they cannot do. So fortunately, this bill doesn't do that. This bill simply says that whatever decisions they make that are legal here in Maryland are decisions that are protected here in Maryland. And we will not allow outside states with different laws to decide that things that are legal in Maryland can be tried criminally in another state. Thank you.
Thank you. And I appreciate the conversation. Everyone is, speaking from an honest place. These are your values and I respect it. Delegate Shalega, followed by Delegate Olston.
Thank you for a second chance here. I just wanted to answer some of the comments made by Delegate Cullison, and also to say, look, this bill was fashioned after the one that advocates called abortion tourism. And so this could potentially set up transgender tourism. And, I think other states that have said that youth should not do this got it right. And we put up guardrails in this state about marriage and moved marriage to 18. We said kids cannot get married, even if they're pregnant and want to have a life together, and the husband or wife is in the military and they want to be together and be able to take advantages of those benefits of being a married military couple. We said no. We said no to tanning. Kids under 18 can't tan. We said no to tattoos. But this is life-altering castration for children in many cases, even if it's just medication and it's not radical surgeries. The data is in, and that's what it's showing. And, to say this gender clinic in Oregon that's doing these surgeries has the highest volume on the West Coast. With the help of the robot and the team, they can perform multiple vaginoplasties per day. The phalloplasty program has a 12 to 18 month waiting list for consultations and an additional 3 to 6 month waiting list for surgical appointments. So, I think we should protect kids and not go down that road here in Maryland. And so that's why I'm going to be voting against this, because it is going to encourage other people to come here that are children. 12-year-olds, they don't know what they want to wear to school. We're not going to, I just think it's wrong to have them take drugs or take, radical steps that will alter their life forever. Thank you.
And thank you, Delegate Shalega. I appreciate your thoughts. I do have Alston, followed by Chisholm, followed by Bagnall. Delegate Alston.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I just wanted to go to the bill and read the portion about legally protected health care. What it says is that a judge may not order a person within the state to give testimony or a statement or produce documents, electronically stored information, or other tangible things under this subsection in a case where prosecution is pending or where grand jury investigation has commenced or is about to commence, or a violation of a criminal law of another state involving the provisions of receipt of or assistance with legally protected health care in the state, unless the act forming the basis of the prosecution or investigation would constitute a crime in this state. And for that reason, I'm going to support this because I think it's important that we uphold our laws and that we protect our citizens when we pass a bill and we say that something is going to be legal in this state. I want to make sure that we're protecting the providers who are doing this service, whether it's this or some other service that we've said is legal, whether it's, right to choose or the vaginal births after a cesarean, or rather it's abortion care or whatever it is. And we are going to have probably more of these bills. And I think that we need a holistic approach. And I thank my I thank my subcommittee chair. I thank my subcommittee chair for agreeing that we need to look at this more holistically, because I think we need to have a holistic conversation because we do some progressive things with healthcare in this state, and we shouldn't have to come back every year to tinker with this. Once we've said that we believe this care is legal in this state, we need to protect our doctors to make sure that they're not being dragged into criminal court in another state. And I think that's important so that we have consistency in our laws. And we are going to have the fundamental disagreements about whether we should do this particular, whether it's gender affirming care or abortion. We're going to continue to have those fundamental disagreements. But I do think when it comes to protecting the providers that we've said this is legal, we need to keep that protection clear so that they're not in danger in other places. So thank you.
And thank you for your comments. And as we discussed earlier, I am interested in looking at this broadly for next year, right? Because so that we don't piecemeal things as well. And I believe was it Chisholm, right? And then Bagnall? Okay, go ahead. Thank you for being patient, Delegate Chisholm.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
When I look at this bill, it's not like other states are arbitrarily just picking doctors and saying we're going to go after them. The only time that it ever becomes a legal issue is when harm has been done. And God forbid, a child in Pennsylvania comes here and their family or even that child feels like they have been harmed. And what do we do in this state? We put an iron curtain around it and say, well, we're not going to release any of this. We don't believe you were harmed. This is not just, hey, we're just going to protect Maryland doctors because somebody in Colorado is going to come here after our doctors. It just doesn't happen that way, ever. The only time this comes into existence is when somebody feels like they have been harmed. And now we have accounts all over the world. Everybody in this committee admits this is controversial stuff. We don't have absolute agreement on this anywhere in the world, anywhere. And everybody has a right to their own opinion. But when harm is done, every one of us wants justice, and we want the ability to prove that harm was done to us or our child in the court of law. And this does nothing but hamper that, in my opinion. It doesn't speak to the surgery. We've already talked about that. It's about protecting those that feel like they've been harmed. And this does nothing but impede upon that justice. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Delegate Chisholm, for expressing your feelings and your views. I really respect them, okay? Delegate Bagnell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And first of all, I just want to thank this committee once again for year two on a very respectful conversation. You know, this was, for those who may not remember, the gender affirming care bill, which we don't want to relitigate, but we did have it last year. And that was my second week as subcommittee chair. So thank you all, for the very respectful,
Trial by fire.
subcommittees. But to the credit of this committee, they were extremely respectful. And I think everyone remembered that there are people on the other side of this live stream who watch this, whose lives are impacted by the decisions we make. And I think everybody very much kept that in mind. Last year, I think we've very much kept that front of mind this year. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. I also wanted to say there's nothing in this bill that prohibits action for malfeasance. The boards can still take action. Patients can still make complaints. There's nothing that protects providers who actually act outside of the scope of their practice, who act with malfeasance. And I also just wanted to talk about why we need this, because we used to have a member in this body who always said, what is the problem we're trying to solve? And I know my good colleague spoke about radical, and I'll remind everyone that there is a term called radical mastectomy. Radical is a word we have to use very carefully. And I think the reason that we are seeing this bill is because we are seeing some very radical laws in other states that are having a chilling effect on our entire healthcare continuum. They're having a chilling effect on the trans community. They're having a chilling effect on the parents of trans children who are not sure what they are legally allowed to do in other states. But in Maryland, we have been very declarative about here is what our law is. Here is, what our gender affirming treatment is. And this bill allows us to also say, this is legally protected healthcare under Maryland law. So we don't want to wait and subject ourselves to a radical loss of our rights or radical attacks on Maryland residents and providers and more radical laws that could restrict our rights and could literally reach into the state of Maryland, because there's already been a path that's been created. We saw that was the reason that we had to protect abortion care last year, is because we had states that were literally writing laws that were allowing them to violate states' rights and reach into another state and impact the laws of our state. And quite frankly, I don't think our voters want us to allow other states to decide what we can have and not have in our healthcare. So for all those reasons, I'm very supportive of this bill, and I just hope that the committee will join me in supporting it.
And thank you, Delegate Bagnell, for all your work. I know we all have different perspectives and views, but I thank you for your hard work on this issue. Delegate Bandari.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome.
Based on my reading of this bill, it does only three things. Number one, it solidifies the protection of gender affirming care under Maryland law that we already passed, ensuring access to necessary medical treatment for transgender and gender diverse individuals. And this bill aligns with medical consensus on the importance of such care of mental and physical health, preventing discrimination and legal barriers, which is very, very important. And number three, if I understood correctly, by safeguarding this gender affirming treatment, this SB 119 affirms our state commitment to health, equity, and the rights of all individuals to receive compassionate and appropriate medical care. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate Bandari, for your words. Anyone else? Is there anyone that was not heard? This is a safe space again, okay? And I appreciate everyone's respectful demeanor. That being said, There were no amendments on this bill. May I have a motion on the bill? The bill has been moved and second. Any other questions or concerns besides what we just discussed? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Delegate Shalega? And I am not calling you out. I'm just going for staff to write the names. Delegate Shalega, Delegate Chisholm, Delegate Morgan, Delegate Riley, Delegate Hutchinson, Delegate Kipke. The bill passes. I want to take a minute to say thank you to everyone for having a calm, honest, respectful discussion. And I really thank you so much. And I thank staff for your work. Okay? And I would like to do a quick concurrence if that's okay. And that's going to happen as the dates sine die approaches so that we can keep moving our work. Okay? So Erin, you're on.
You just voted on Senate Bill 220, which is a departmental bill, and on that bill, you corrected the name of the Governor's Office of Crime Prevention and Policy. So on the House Bill 42, the same change was made in Senate Finance.
So we have moved and it's been second, the concurrence. All those in favor say aye. Any opposition? Seeing none, thank you so much. There are going to be some bills, just for the record, that we probably will not agree. And we will be doing for the new ones what is called concurrence, assigning some people to the committee where it's 3 and 3 and you'll be representing our committee. And we will let you know if that is, if that happens, and then I'll be assigning some people to do that. Okay. I want to thank you all for your hard work. We're almost done.